I've dug deep into my Excel spreadsheet of trash 90s B-movie horrors and come up with I Bought a Vampire Motorcycle, which is a 1990 low-budget British horror comedy set in Birmingham and directed by Dirk Campbell. I Bought a Vampire Motorcycle is a British version of Christine that's a comedy that has one half of Men Behaving Badly in the lead, C-3PO cosplaying as a priest, and a demon-possessed vampiric motorcycle as the antagonist. Honestly, if that description doesn't have you mildly excited, I don't think we can be friends. It started out as a script written by two Central TV editors who decided to develop the idea into a full screenplay, having seen Sam Raimi's The Evil Dead. Although always written as a comedy, Dirk Campbell has said about the film, "I wanted the film to have the look of a serious horror movie, a dark, gritty, realistic look that used the decaying back streets of Birmingham, so there's nothing that jumps out at you to tell you it's a comedy." I have no idea how this did at the cinema, or what the critical reception even was, because it doesn't even have a single review on Rotten Tomatoes for me to quote. Not one. I do know, however, that it caused some consternation on release for its treatment of women, which pretty much amounts to a bit of leering and the vampiric motorcycle ogling a woman's fully clothed bottom. Which honestly, of all the films I've ever covered on this channel, if you'd asked me which was the one that caused a stir due to its treatment of women, yeah, this would be very, very near the bottom, probably the bottom 2 or 3. As for me, well, I hadn't seen this film in a long time. This is a shame because it is a beautiful slice of unapologetically entertaining British 90s cheese. The plot is, well, it is very silly. We open on a Satan-worshipping occultist biker gang who are summoning a demon or the devil or some such, who succeed, but in their hour of success, a rival biker gang crossbows them to death, leading the demon to jump from the reanimated corpse of the gang leader into a Norton Commando motorcycle. How do we know it's possessed? Bright red lights and smoke machines, of course, the universal indicator for possession in inanimate objects. Noddy, played by Neil Morrissey, who runs a courier service with his girlfriend, played by Amanda Knorr, then buys a bike for £1,100 and lies to her that he spent £600. I don't know why the price of the bike was a repeated plot point we kept coming back to, so I thought I also best mention it. His friend Buzzer, whilst trying to fix the bike, cuts his hand and steals the petrol cap for funsies. The bike takes umbrage at this, comes alive and murders him. The rest of the film essentially is the bike getting more aggressively murderous and the bloke from Men Behaving Badly and C-3PO cosplaying as a priest trying to stop it. All while Charlie Elphick, playing an incompetent copper, disbelieves everybody in every report that this vampiric motorcycle actually exists, before they plug in a tanning bed and the bike dies, which is a weirdly specific form of death, probably only possible at this period of time, because back then everyone had one of these tanning beds, even my mum had one at home. So yeah, the plot is very silly, I have to admit. I was slightly worried in the first third of the film, also that we were never gonna see the motorbike do its thing. This is because its kills early on all happen off screen, with the bike just being shown turning on or acting unusual as an actor sits on it. This really had me worried because when I buy a film called I Bought a Vampire Motorcycle, I need to see vampiric motorcycle action, goddammit. This being a constant danger with these kinds of B-movies. Sometimes they promise a lot and deliver almost nothing, especially when you look at the poster and think, God, that looks amazing, then nothing of the sort shows up. Thankfully, the bike does get increasingly ridiculous and over the top as the film goes on, and I was not disappointed at all in its body count and how those played out. There are some highly entertaining, cheesy and ridiculous vampire motorbike kills, with it also living up to the poster art's promise, getting more and more demonic looking and therefore cool as all hell as the film's 105-minute runtime passes. The bike is easily the star attraction here really, and where most of the film's entertainment derives. There are some very good special and practical effects for the time, and I'm gonna guess here the minuscule budget this had, with loads of blood being splashed around, people's bottoms being impaled, loads of hilarious decapitations, and even a nurse being cut clean in half by a tea trolley, which is an insanely British way to go. Some real crowd pleaser kills, in other words. Even the bike operating by itself has a weird charm to it, even though it does look entirely ridiculous, which of course is the whole point, it's meant to be amusing. As for the humour, well, it's very British, very early 90s, and very juvenile, so of course I laughed quite a lot. If you are a fan of 80s and 90s British sitcoms like Men Behaving Badly, The Young Ones, Bottom, and other such absurdist and slightly juvenile humour, you will also get a chuckle or two out of this film. I can imagine in another parallel universe, this film existing and looking kind of like a feature-length Red Dwarf episode. Instead we get some very stylish presentation on a budget, with the city of Birmingham where this is set almost being a character in of itself, with only one set being constructed for this whole production. Everything else was filmed on location. Due to this and effective use of lighting, it gives the film a very gritty and cinematic moody look. The biggest joke of them all though is there isn't a single Brummie accent anywhere to be found in this film. Mainly due to the cast all being Londoners. They are all really good at least. Neil Morrissey, who is usually famous in Britain thanks to years of being a successful comedic actor, and maybe even more for knobbing some of Britain's most beautiful ladies, is well cast here as the lead, selling the silly premise in a straight yet comedic way. Morrissey's then actual real-life wife, Amanda Knorr, isn't given a huge amount to do, being largely relegated to the 90s British staple female character in a comedy, moaning at her husband about money and being called a silly tart by him behind her back, but she does this with aplomb. I don't want to blame this film, but they actually divorced the very next year, so yeah, awkward. Anthony Daniels is in this too, in one of his few non-C3PO credits I think I've ever seen him in. Certainly the only comedy I've ever seen him in, and he does a perfectly fine job with the material he's given. He's certainly hammier than Morrissey is, which is to be expected from C3PO, I guess. So that was I Bought a Vampire Motorcycle, and overall it is what it is, a very silly, very juvenile British comedy from the early 90s that has some reasonable practical effects and still kinda largely holds up even today, being entertaining enough that if you like 90s cheese, I recommend it to you. If you enjoyed that, then like, comment and subscribe, because next week I'm coming over all Christmassy and doing a Christmas film. No, it's not Die Hard, it's Silent Night, Deadly Night.